want to ace your next interview, you have come to the right place. I'm with my girl Jasmine. Y'all know, y'all have seen her around on my page, on my podcast. And so I'm super excited to always bring her expertise. We both love helping pivoters, right? At the end of the day, people who are pivoting. And so go ahead and reintroduce yourself to my audience. Y'all should know her by now, though. You should be following her on her podcast, on her TikTok. And listen, she got some gems. So, but reintroduce yourself.
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine, aka Dr. Jasmine Dion, aka Pretty Rich Teacher on all platforms. I'm
Nice.
primarily on TikTok, but I am moving to LinkedIn, YouTube. So just find me all those places. But I am a former teacher, now turned career and business coach for teachers. So I help them make more money. Teachers deserve more money. I will help you make it. And one of the biggest things right now is getting into new careers, specifically in the ed tech industry. And our topic today is all about interviewing. So we're going to talk about how to actually get these job offers.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. And so Dr. Jasmine and I, we have similar, very, very, very similar views. And I think that's to no surprise because we understand the perspective of pivoters. And so one of the things that we see commonly is that our pivoters take their the experience that they have and they try to make it work for the interviewing process for where they're going, right? So my people, if you're pivoting you can pivot from any background going into HR. And so you might be an accountant or you might be, whatever it is, and you're using the skill sets that you have. And especially my teachers, right? They know how to apply and they know how to get teaching jobs. And so we see very commonly that they get stuck in this cycle of landing a few interviews here and there. And then they are, unfortunately, those opportunities are pulled from under them, even though they're highly qualified, and they don't get them because they just lack the skills of being able to interview well. So Dr. Jasmine, let's start with what would you say your definition of a great interview? What are the aspects of a great interview for people who are pivoting? How would you break that down?
Great question. So I would say, to go off of what you said about pivoters. So typically, if they are pivoting, they are someone who has been in their career for a very long time. If they had to interview for their current position again, they would not need to really practice anything. They've been doing it for years. So in order for you to interview successfully for a new position, you have to have the same level of confidence. So it starts off by one, actually learning the new job itself. Like the core foundation to have a great interview, you have to know the job. Then you have to know how to market yourself, like how to take your experience and be able to paint the picture of you already doing all of the things for that new position, right? It's less about what you actually did. It's more about how can you help the other person, and then selling your skills. You're not the only candidate with the experience. So I think a lot of people get caught up on, oh, they're not hiring people in different careers. It's like, no, they actually are, but they're hiring the ones who know how to sell the skill. So I would say three main things of a successful interview is knowing your new job in and out, just like you know your current position. I tell all my teachers on an interview, you don't pull out flashcards when they ask you questions about classroom management. They don't pull out flashcards when we ask you about your philosophy on student success. You just know it. So you have to know. It takes more work to pretend to pretend to know a job than to just know it. So knowing your actual new job, knowing how to market yourself, so relevant experiences. I've seen teachers where the job will ask something like, "Hey, tell me about a time that you've digitized something," and I have someone being as specific as, "Oh, I helped someone with a fraction lesson." I'm like, "That's not
You like don't talk about fractions.
relevant marketing experience." So, like, how about you digitize process of implementing a technology, whatever the tool is. Like you have to market it and then you roll and then selling your skills. It's like, why you out of all those other people? So I would say those are the three components of a successful interview. What do you think?
That's amazing. Yes, yes. So I agree wholeheartedly with all that. The other perspective that I share in terms of the components, so I also think about the structure of the interview. So if I were to just give a different perspective, it would be about the structure. So I always think about if you can have an amazing opening that answers pretty much all of the normal questions that they're going to ask anyway. One, that's going to show leadership and communication skills right off the bat. If they have to pull out every single question. Why are you looking to pivot? What, what is your background? Like if they have to continue to ask a bunch of questions, like it feels like,
Right.
right?
Right.
It just becomes, I don't know the right word, but again, it just takes away your leadership in
Yeah.
the interview. So I think about like, okay, if you can have an amazing opening, I call it career story, like career story
Yeah.
opening, that sets the tone. That's really
Yes.
important for me. And then the second piece, yes, is being able to talk about your skills. And I think it from an impact perspective. So I
Yes.
think where a lot of my people kind of fall short is that they will talk about, if they're going into learning and development, for example, from being a teacher, or if they're going into, if they're accountant and they want to go into HRIS, they'll be like, yes, one time I designed a training for a manager. And I pick on that example all the time because it's like literally the most common example that I'll get. And I'm like, okay, cool.
What about
Then
so
what?
what? It's like so it's kind of like
So
so what in the most loving way
in the
possible.
most loving way,
Yes.
yes. And then what? Right? You
Yeah.
created the training, and then what happened? Like, how is the business different? How are your people different? What was the impact to the business, to the people,
Yes.
right? Like, just kind of making sure you're giving from the lens of business impact will be my second thing. And then my third thing actually is also asking good questions. And so,
Mm,
not just good questions for good questions' sake, but it's like
right.
actually, were you listening? Like, were you like,
Right.
do you, to your point, it's another way to show that you understand the job, right?
Yes.
Like you were listening and understanding the needs of the role specific to the company, the organization, the industry, all the different things. And so I think those are other, like, other ways that I think about like
Yeah.
what makes a somebody become a 12 out of 10.
Right. Right.
12 out, not 10 out of 10, but 12 out of 10 on in the interview process. So yeah, tell me like some big, anything unique you're seeing in 2026, like interview
Yeah.
trends that you're seeing from
Yeah.
companies,
Yeah.
that people are kind of like that are stumping them, or that you would share with the people.
Yeah. So I'm gonna piggyback off some of the things you said and answer your question. So one thing I
Mhm.
always tell my clients is like, you are not being interviewed on a podcast. Like, we don't really want to sit here and like get to know you. It's all about what can you do for me. Like at the end of the day, it's business. It's a business, especially if you are a former educator or a transiting teacher. You're going to work for a business. So like you
Yes.
need to make it your business and show them how you're going to help them bring in money at the end of the day. So that's one thing. Two, the question asking, like you mentioned, that is important, but I feel like a lot of people get caught on, okay, which question should I ask? Which question should I ask? If you know your job well enough, you know what question to ask. Like one of the things I tell my
Right.
clients to not ask is, what makes someone successful in this position? I was like, you should know the answer to that.
I know.
You
Yeah.
should know the answer to that. You should know the
Exactly.
answer.
Mhm.
Another thing I would say, so as far as hiring trends, then I am a hiring manager at my edtech company. I'm also hiring for my business right now. And I told my clients, they were shocked at this, that we don't have a hiring managers. We don't have a set of questions I'm asking. Like I tell them I'm interviewing someone on Monday. I have no idea what I'm going to ask them. I have no
Mm.
idea. I just want to know if they can do the job. So that's the question. So it's like a lot of us are, I feel like, are stuck in preparation mode. But like, in order for you to prepare for an interview, you just have to know what you're talking about. Like you
Oof.
just have to know. And it's like, if you don't know, there is our area of growth. Like just go learn it. It's like we want to skip the steps. I feel like a lot of people are committed to, no, I really do want another job. I do want a raise, but they're not married to, and I don't want to be that person that says you got to do the work, but it's like there are strategies and there are solutions. Like it doesn't have to be that hard. But I would say like the biggest hiring trends is like they don't have a set script. Like they, because of a world of all the AI, they know they can tell. Like if I can tell your answers, I had a couple clients where they were answering questions, practicing their questions. And I was like, stop reading from the paper. They're like, I'm not reading from a paper. And I'm like, yikes, yikes.
Oh
So it's like,
no! Oh no!
you know what you're talking about, is I would say like the higher trend. I think that's so simple, but it's like you just have to know what you're
No.
talking about.
Yeah.
And
So I
it
can
can be a
hear the
small
audience
thing that
being
you're talking
like,
about.
yeah. So I can hear the audience being like, okay, well, what if I've never done the role? I've been a teacher my whole life,
Yeah,
right? I've been a finance person my whole life. I've
yeah,
been in the same industry my whole life. Like, how will I know? So I'll give my thoughts to that. And of course, I would love to hear your thoughts as well.
yeah.
So what I share from my clients, right? So a lot of people, certifications, of course, could be one way, but I do think for a lot of my pivoters, it is more about trying to understand what's actually happening in the workplace. I don't usually advocate for a certain certification in HR just because it's just a bit kind of varied, if you will. But what I found, I was just actually interviewing a client before this on a podcast, and she was telling me how she's been networking and she's been learning a lot more about like international HR and from networking. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, some of that stuff is not necessarily taught. So networking is one strategy that I share with people who are coming from very backgrounds going into HR. I also help my clients really break down and understand the different types of jobs and job descriptions and what we're looking for. So I do think you have to have some type of someone who understands the subject matter expertise that can break it down in some way. And I know a lot of people will try to find HR professionals and things so again through networking, but I also provide and walk through, okay, here's what the job description for HRIS leader or project manager leader in HR or HR business partner, and if you're coming from this, and like how your skills kind of align. So you need to bridge that gap, to your point, in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. And I think again, in HR specifically, the certifications don't always do that really well, right? Like
Yeah.
because they're very, 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 very generalized. And
Right.
so
Right.
so I caution people to think that that's gonna close the gap, and then also
Yeah.
help you to then articulate it in a very in a way that resonates with leaders. And then don't get me started on ChatGPT. It does not work. I'm sorry. ChatGPT
So
is
sorry,
not
babe.
smart enough
So sorry,
to
babe.
translate in a way that makes sense. I have not seen it work. It falls flat every time. We can
Mm,
literally see through it. I'm like, that makes no sense. So
mm.
ChatGPT is not the way to go. I want to hear from you. What you think?
Yeah, so I agree with you. So like certifications, I feel like are helpful, but it's I think what the way you described it, it's more important that you just understand your job. So if you do a certification, like I do feel like they are helpful, but like whatever way you learn information. So by networking, talking with people, but make it your business to learn the job. But there's a note I have, like I have an asterisk about networking. I
Mm,
do feel like networking does help. Like networking, and then we talked about this before. Like it is another
mhm,
way of bringing in interviews, another way for you to like for getting closer to job offers. But I think where some people get networking wrong, especially my teachers or my resourceful people, were like, okay, well, I'm just gonna network. I'm not gonna. I don't need. All I know, someone have know me and I know them, and I can get a job. But it's like you still actually have to know the job. You
yeah,
still
for
actually
sure.
know the job. Like you cannot network your way, and that's your only strategy. I think
That's your
there is no
only strategy. Yes.
one there's not one strategy, but it's like
And
when you
and
network.
also and it also, not to interrupt you, but just to that point, I find a lot of people don't network in the right way. They start asking for advice. And that's
Mm,
not a way to really learn. It's different from being like, so what would you do, versus like what are some challenges that you're actually, working through this month,
yeah,
this week? What are some hot topics, some trends,
yeah,
how are y'all thinking about DEI? I know that's been a hot topic everywhere. What are
yes,
y'all actually doing differently?
yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to
There's a
throw that.
book called How to Win Friends Over and Influence People. I highly
Ooh,
recommend for people.
ooh, I've
It's
never read that. I might
it's
look
a
at.
good one. It's a good one. Because networking essentially like in order for it to work for you, you have to make it about the other person. Like you have to
Ugh,
be genuinely curious about the other person. And I was talking to my client, so a couple of things with networking because I feel like networking also I feel like it does also play a way in how you interview, and I will bring it back because I know my ADHD be winning when it comes to different topics. But when it comes to networking, you have to just have the ability to have a conversation with someone,
right.
right? I know you've mentioned this example before, like if you meet someone in a coffee shop, you're not just gonna throw your resume and say, "Give me advice," or "Here's my resume, give me a job."
For sure,
I I,
yeah.
I tell my clients like for an interview, start off by saying, "Hello, how are you?"
Rapport,
And
building rapport.
yes.
Yes,
And, like,
yes.
I told my clients yesterday, I was like, "Whenever someone asks me how am I don't just say good, I say, 'Hmm, how am I feeling?' I'm excited. I just came back from Disney this past week. I went to see the fireworks show. I love being able to just have Disney in my backyard. I love adventure.
Mm,
Super excited to chat with you today. I see that you've been in customer success for over 10 years. I'm so excited to learn from you. This open opportunity, I went to the job description, it aligns, like, perfectly with what I do. So I'm excited to chat with you. Like,
yeah,
that
I
was
mean, personable, like, yes, trying to genuinely connect with. I think a lot of people struggle there because there's just so much nerves and anxiety, and also the
Yeah.
thought is like how do I just say the exact things that they want to hear versus like no, like who, again, from a
The right
networking
answer is the
perspective.
right answer.
Yeah.
That's what
and
I tell my clients. The right answer is the right answer.
and also, yeah, again, if you, no matter if you're networking or if you're interviewing, you have to like, I'm trying to say it in a different way, but I just always say you do have to genuinely be interested in what is
Correct.
in front of you, in the person
Yeah.
that is in front of you. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't be a robot or a cyborg and think that that's gonna, it just doesn't, it's not gonna work in 2026 because
It's not gonna
managers,
work.
they have a keen eye on like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm also going to be working with this person 40 plus hours a week. Like I want to have some level of connection with them. But yeah.
And I can speak to, so I found from helping people interview, there's two reasons why people are nervous on interviews.
Mm,
Number one, they're making it very high stakes. So, like, I
yeah,
understand, and I want them, everybody listen to this. We understand what it's like to feel pressure.
for
Like,
sure.
so yes, every who is going to not want a job, especially if you see how much it pays. You go, well, you get married on, okay, I love this. Like, I got an interview. I'm so excited. So like you put a lot of pressure on the interview so that makes you nervous. That's one thing. And then
Hmm.
the other thing is you just don't know what you're talking about. So you're like, oh, I
Right.
don't know what they're gonna ask me. So like combined with both of those things, that's typically why people are nervous in their interviews. Again, both can be solved by just being able to understand like what the job does really well. And I would say the other thing is like I said, the right answer is the right answer. Like the even if like let's say, okay, but I really am nervous. Okay, but like nervous Nancy's don't get hired. Like if
Yeah.
you're nervous, I'm nervous. Like I'm
Yes.
nervous. So I'm like you with my clients, it needs to be like you need to be going to look at a house and you're with your spouse or you're whoever and you're like, "Oh, we're going to put the couch here, babe. We're going to put this." They need to have that energy with you. They need to be like, "Oh, wow.
Yes.
I'm hiring Lashley. I can see her with my clients." So like that's
Yes.
what they need to be visualizing. If you are in your head trying to figure it out, they are in their head like, "Oh, I wonder who else I'm interviewing." That's what I would
Hmm.
be doing.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be doing.
You raise more questions than confidence for sure.
Correct. You need to bring
Yeah.
solutions and not problems on an interview. Like,
Yeah.
you need to bring solutions.
100%. So, and then another trend I would say that you rate now that you kind of triggered that I'm seeing, and based on the advice that I give people, is that I say you should 20x the energy slash the response that you're bringing. So going back again to some of the things we're saying, the impact and the confidence level. Like I literally was just working with someone and they were like, oh, I wish I could remember the exact example, but it was something like, yes, I'm going to help. Like we learned that they are really looking at employee engagement and employee morale, right?
Mhm.
And then she was like, yeah, I'm really going to help you turn around your employee I was engagement. And I was like, that's it? Like that's all we gonna say. Like we ain't got. I
Yeah.
was like, you literally your sweet spot. What you have done throughout your career has turned employee engagement around, and you've
Yeah.
done it in 90 days, 60 days.
Yeah.
You've done it with some of the hardest employee groups, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like, can we 20x how we're talking about that? Like, how did you
Yes.
tell them? I feel confident that everything that you shared with me about employee engagement, including X, Y, and Z. I'm going to turn that around in the next 90
Yeah.
days. Like, put a stake in the ground.
Yeah.
Again, I
It's
also
exactly like, come with a plan.
leadership.
Here's a sample of how I turn it around.
Yeah, 100%. I would love for you to talk about that because you do something very specific with your clients to help showcase that confidence. And I think you help them come up with like a
Yes.
portfolio. So I would love for you to
Yes.
share more about that.
Yeah, so I'll do a caveat. So again, you don't need a certification. However, just with my clients, I have niched down specifically to two careers. So ed
Right.
tech is the industry and either the career of customer success or educational sales. So I've done both roles. I currently serve as a VP for the company and in my own business. So what I have done is I created a dual certification portfolio. So I
Mhm.
have the top 10 activities that you're going to be doing day to day as a customer success manager or in educational sales. My clients who are in their new jobs literally refer back to this portfolio as their training and they
Wow.
are getting gold star recommendations from their higher ups. So like, wow, I love the way you think. And it's really just my work into a portfolio. So the portfolio, again, is a sample of each thing you'll do. So for example, for customer success, one of the biggest things that you're going to be doing in that role is creating an implementation plan. So how we're
Mhm.
going to roll out this technology at a school or school district. So I literally have my clients in an interview. Like I tell them, when you have an interview, Like your portfolio needs to be like a Little Caesars pizza, ready. Like whatever the company is, listen, it needs to be hot and ready. Like, hey, y'all, we'll pull up the job description. Let me show like, interview. Hey, I just scheduled the interview. Also, I sent you a Loom video of my portfolio, and it needs to be catered towards that company. It needs to be here's an implementation plan. If you can even tweak it a little bit, I sampled of how I would approach it. For example, Magma Math, I know this, so this is how I'd roll it out. This is how I anticipate. Love to be able to talk about, here's the full portfolio. Love to go over it, answer any questions you have.
Mm.
Like making it so, like painting the picture. Like all
Like,
my
I
clients, like,
can do this.
yes, the hiring
I
managers
know
are so
exactly what you
impressed.
need. Yeah,
They're
because they
so
feel like I
impressed.
know what you need. That is a huge question in 2026. Like if I was thinking about again another trend, they just want to know, do you know what we need?
Correct.
Do you know like what our problems are? Can you help me solve them? Or am I going to have to pull you along to solve
Right.
the problems? Or am I and I think like managers too, because again, from an HR perspective, when my HR hat, like when I'm coaching managers, they're some of their biggest frustrations is feeling okay, I hired somebody, but I still feel like I'm doing everything by myself, right? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like I still feel like everything is on my shoulders. So they want to know that you're going to be able to hit the
Correct.
ground.
Like you are coming with solutions. Like some of the questions that I have my clients ask, one of them is around the recruiter, like getting to know them, company goals, but like urgent questions. What problems can I help you solve in the first 60 days? And like
Yeah,
come with an answer. Like, hey, what are y'all like? What are the goals for the next? And I don't. Some people ask for about the year. I'm like, no, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Like what's happening? What are some current challenges? And then what can I help you solve? But also like when they give you the challenges, start giving solutions. Hey, so I imagine that you are doing XYZ. Here's exactly what I would propose for doing this. Like in the follow-up email, like just give them the solutions. Like
hmm
that's what they're looking for. So the easier, like you need to make it easy for them to hire you.
yeah. Well, so easy. So to that point, another trend that I see is this particular question. I'm curious if your clients get this as well, but especially again as pivoters, the question will be something like, "Tell me about your direct experience doing this." And I'm seeing it getting more and more specific as the months go on, just because of the supply of the market. I'm hearing from recruiter friends that managers are just trying so hard to like weed people out, right? So
Right.
their questions are getting really, really, really specific. And that can feel really daunting to people because you're like, okay, I'm a pivoter. I know I ain't done that specific of a thing,
Yeah.
right? They'll be like, tell me about a time
Yeah.
you helped a sales leader do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, I ain't never worked with a sales leader. I ain't never
Yeah.
did X,
I
Y,
don't
and
even
Z
know
in
how to
my life.
spell sales.
Yeah. So are y'all are you seeing those types of questions as well? And how are you handling
Yeah.
those with clients? Yeah.
Yes, and the what I tell my clients is how can you say yes? Like, how
Mm.
can you say yes? So, like, for me, what I because a lot of them, they're especially my educators, they're like, "Oh, I haven't really done that. I don't,"
But
and
my
they answer the
manager
question.
did it. I never did it, but my
Yeah,
manager did something. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I'm like, first of all, I'm like, I have a couple thoughts. One, don't let them tell you no. Like, how can you say yes? And the
Mm,
thing is, like, it's less about what you actually did because at the end of the day, they're asking because they want to know how you do the job. So, for
mhm,
example, let's say, for customer success, you're going to be rolling it out at the district level,
mm,
and maybe you've only been a classroom teacher. So,
mhm,
my answer, like a sample answer of what I would say as a classroom teacher is so my current position, I work closely with admin to roll out different technology tools with our teachers. I know for this position, we're going to be working with multiple districts. So,
mm,
just to kind of like show you a little bit of my experience, not only have I helped at my school, but I've worked closely with admin where they're using the way that I roll out this tool district wide.
mm.
And I am that person where I know that I can take this and scale it. So like because it's the model for my entire district. My plans here for MAGA Math is to be able to really understand what the challenges are in the district. If we need to roll a pilot, I have actually a sample of how I would be rolling it out here at your
Yeah,
company.
perfect. I so love obsessed because so many people they think well, I haven't done it, right? So their brain goes to exactly to your point. They go to the well, I've never done, I haven't done the exact thing. And so for you, you're like, okay, it doesn't have to be the exact. Like, how can you get your brain on board with yes? So what would you
Mhm.
say to the person? Well, that feels like I'm lying. I feel like I'm gonna get caught. I feel like I'm stretching. Like, what would you say to that person?
Yeah. So I have a couple thoughts. I actually have a training in my interview mastery about how to not sound like you're lying. So
Yeah.
it's like number one, there's a couple thoughts, but the employer will ask you make up scenarios. Some of these scenarios have not actually happened. They are making up scenarios. So like,
Mhm.
why can't you also make up a scenario? Like that's
Yeah.
one.
Mhm.
And then two, the more you say what you actually did, the more jobs you like, the more you interview like your current position, the more positions you'll have in your area. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like in the most loving way possible, like it's a choice. So you can either keep telling the truth and then you'll keep the same job that you have,
Mhm. Mhm.
or you could get on board of saying, okay, if that's what they're looking for, let me show them how I can do it. Because again, even like with you going as a career pivoter, you're going into a new career that you have not done before.
Right.
They need to see you in that role. So you need to be able to be quick enough to show them exactly how you be doing it because you're going to be doing this in your position.
Yeah.
So you have to visualize it. And the thing is, like, if you feel like you're lying, I would ask yourself, like, well, then, because for me, it sounds like you don't believe that you're able to do it.
Yeah, well,
Because
that's it right there. And I was so then the perspective that I always share with people very similar in saying that like if you really come down to it and you take the exact language that they're asking, you really think about the skills that they're
yeah,
actually literally asking about. And if they're asking about, okay, well, tell me about a time you rolled out a change management plan for a sales team. Like if you really just again, you take a step back, okay, what are they
mhm,
actually asking? Change management
mhm,
means what? It means that I know how to come up with a communication plan. I know how to work with people to understand what are their pain points. I know how to do da da da. And you can't tell me that you haven't done that in some capacity,
correct,
right? So
correct.
going to but to your other point, it's like if you really zoom out, it's like, do you really think you can't do this? And if you
Yeah,
think you can't do it, again, they're gonna think that you can't do it either.
yeah,
But if you figure out how have I actually already done this in some capacity and not really worry about the exact language of how they're asking the question and being so black and white. Because
right.
I got some very brilliant people clients where I'm like, you're telling me you can't do it just because you never
Yeah,
had an exact budget before. You
yeah,
can't manage a budget and you've been a
correct.
consultant for 15 years. Like, come on, like, like,
Yeah.
I
This is
think
like,
you
how
can.
can you say yes? And you to sit there,
um,
and again, this is gonna be
I love
new.
that.
Just sit there and come up with it. People always ask, "How are you able to do your interview question so fast?" I just always say, "I'm gonna have an answer.
Yeah.
I believe I can do it."
And I can believe I can do it. I think that is like the most empowering, beautiful part. And I think if you can get past that, then you will feel less like you're lying, right? You will feel less like
Right.
you're telling the truth, and they will see the potential you have within yourself. Oh my
And
God,
it's
I
only
know
lying if you actually don't know how to do it, but the thing is you probably do,
you do.
100%, especially if you are a teacher. Teacher can do anything, but if you are even in a place where you just feel like you wanna go into a different career from any profession, you have the ability to do it because you would not be doing it if you didn't. If you truly did not believe you could not go into another career, you wouldn't be talking about it. You'd
You
just
wouldn't
be
be
in your
talking
new
about it,
career.
right? You wouldn't have had an exposure to it. You would. I always tell people like 40%, like if you're pivoting, 40% of the job you're truly not going to have done exactly before. So like, I mean, then again, it wouldn't be pivoting. It wouldn't be pivoting, right? But you do need to figure out how to have some understanding of what the role does versus what you like versus like how your role is kind of intertwined.
Yeah.
But I know we could talk for hours about this. I
Yes,
know
we're
you
just
and
gonna
I
do it.
both
We're
have
gonna have an ongoing series is what I'm
I
thinking.
yes, ongoing, especially about interviewing because I think this is where a lot of people are falling short, and a lot of people they think they know how to do it, and so
Yeah,
I just
that's one of the biggest things. Like they think they
that's
know how to interview, but it's like, can
yeah.
you?
Yeah. And I love everybody and I want them to get jobs. And I think there's a lot of money out there to be had. And I just read an article that 130K jobs were added in January, which is like the highest it has been in a while. So it's opportunities out here and I want everybody to go out and grab them. Well,
Yeah.
we love y'all so much. We
Yes,
hope
we
that this
do.
was helpful. If you have any questions, reach out to us, but definitely go follow Dr. Jasmine on all her platforms. Listen to her podcast. Some of them have snatched me up, so you better go listen. Otherwise, we will be back soon. We promise you. Okay. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Have a good Friday. Bye.
Bye.